Hey everybody, Mah-Dry-Bread here, and welcome back to this series on how I make Pokemon Challenge videos. I'm going to try my best to cut to the chase on this one, and get this one done fast, and keep this video short, because this is the single most important video in the entire series in terms of my workflow on these Pokemon challenges. So let's not waste a whole lot of time. This is insert footage day, the biggest editing day. Now what we have in front of me here is Adobe Premiere Pro. And this is one of the shorter runs that we've done, and so this is going to be a fairly easy one to show you what I do with it on. If you watched the previous episode, you already know that we've gone through and we've cut up all these this image file, right? We cut it every time that I want to change what the footage would be on screen. So what we're going to do now is, now that we've cut up the entire thing, I'm going to go back to where my start marker is. I'm not going to touch anything before this yet, because that's for tomorrow's edit. And what we're going to do is, I have all my footage right here in Footage, Gold, Mischievous. Here we go. We've got all my footage here that I have recorded. And what I do is I just double click on one of them. So I have a source menu thing over here. And what this is this is showing me the footage. This is part of why I don't record the sound of the footage, is it would be playing while I skim through this, and it'd be really, really annoying. So here's what we do. What did I talk about here? I'm sure I just did my intro stuff. So right off the bat, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Chikorita with Mischievous so that we can do the whole run with it. I replaced Chikorita so that my... Yeah, this is all just intro stuff. So I just want to show me getting the Pokemon. So where is it that I actually find the right one? There it is. I like that picture there. So I'm going to hit 0 on my keyboard here, which is the making an out marker, I think it calls it, and mark out. And then I'm going to mark in just some random point over here. And then I'm going to hit, I think it's period, yeah, to overlay that up here. So this blue thing here is the footage we just got. So I want it to end at the end there. I'm going to drag it to the beginning there, and then replace the original thing. And this is what we get. So right off the bat, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Chikorita with Mischievous so that we can do the whole run with it. I replaced Chikorita so that my rival would have Typhlosion. I figure that it's probably the hardest for us to fight. I said the word rival weird there, didn't I? And then is it here where I talk about stats? I name him Weird Ghastly, or Weird Gastle, as it fits, because that's hilarious. Yeah, that's a fine spot to show the stats then, because we get into the trainer thing so soon after. So if I just drag ahead, what would be interesting to people? Showing them Growl and showing them the stats, yeah, that whole part. And so I just match it to that same length and go down there. Now here's where it starts to get more interesting. That's just matching lengths of footage, right? That might speed up your process a little, but here's another one that might speed it up. So what we have here is I just took like 2 minutes and 20 seconds of me fighting trainers. So I'm just going to do an in marker, an out marker at some random point. And I like to make it a consistent speed and show kind of a time lapse of what's going on. So what I'm going to do is, I've got that selected. I'm going to control R, which is speed and duration. And I'm going to set the speed to 300%. So it's going at triple speed if we watch this footage back. Show you how Psywave works. In Gen 2, it always does a random... There we go. The monitor on the right here, as you can see, is what the finished video would look like, and then on the left is the footage that we're putting in. So I'm going to then drag that over the whole clip, replace the clip, and boom, we've got it. Now here in this marker edit, I know I want to talk about Psywave here, so I'm going to be putting a Psywave thing on screen there. So I'm going to just put this blur effect that I made. It's just a template I made. It's literally just the fast blur effect at like 50%, I think. And dropping opacity to 50% as well. Blurriness 20 on fast blur. And then I do opacity 50% to darken it. It makes it look nice when I'm overlaying things on it, so you can see there's the motion in the background and you can kind of tell what's going on, but that your eyes are focusing on the correct thing on the screen, right? So if we just click around, super effective. I absolutely hate... Yeah, looks fine. What do we talk about next? This is probably Bellsprout Tower, right? Because these are generally in order. When I finally get to the Bellsprout Tower, yeah. So we just time-lapse the... I recorded like a minute of Bellsprout Tower there. I'll just put that in there. And we'll put that 300. Yeah, it's good enough. And then drag it down, because it doesn't need to be the whole thing. It's just showing some example footage. It's always worth, by the way, checking the first few seconds of some of these clips. Depending on the kind of the speed of the hard drive, if you're recording to a hard drive, that is. If it's a hard drive that's not your main drive, it might take a second to boot up, and so the first couple seconds of footage might be a little warpy and weird. That's just an eccentricity of when you try to record to a hard drive that needs a moment to spin up, you know? So that happens with my footage sometimes. If you've ever seen at the beginning of a clip, sometimes a clip starts just a little too late, but you can still tell everything that's going on just fine on my videos. That's why. Flying Gym here, I don't talk about the individual battles here, right? It's just the whole thing in one go. After running around, pretty much any trainer at this point in the game can be... Yes, because my next clip starts with me talking about where I want to show Slowpoke well. So for this, it actually has to very specifically be the whole battle. So literally all I'm doing is I'm skimming to the beginning of right before I pick my first action. We'll do our in marker there. And I go to, I find if it's like a gym leader battle, I wait until the first line there where the guy's on screen. It makes it easier to visually register that we beat him. And so we insert that. That's way too long, as you can see. So I just hit up a bunch of times to go back. And this is where it comes really in handy, the way that I have these pictures cut up. So I control R on my picture. The duration is that. So I control C to copy the duration, exit out. Control R on this one, Control V to paste over the duration. Now, the speed at which I'm talking and the speed at which the footage is playing perfectly matches, which got it to 489.68% speed. And as you watch, after running around and healing after every trainer until I beat Bellsprout Tower, we're ready for Falconer and his Flying Gym. But even with Psywave, it's not that bad. We have Confuse right now, so although Psywave is still super reliable, Falconer is a terrible trainer, so we still win. Pretty much, it's that easy. It's something I figured out when I was working on my second ever one, because, you know, I've just been editing since I was 14? I guess I started learning video editing when I was 14. I'm 27 now, so I've been doing it for a long time. And you just learn little tricks like this, right? I figured it out because I was doing something similar to it when I did my first ever one, and I realized, why don't I literally just copy the duration over? And I started to really streamline my process that way. I don't think I edit like anybody else when it comes to Pokemon challenges. And, you know, every editor has their own method of doing this stuff. When do I start walking? There we go. Because at the beginning... Oh, no, at the beginning it doesn't mess up the footage. I thought it did for a moment. Okay. And again, just 300. I find that's a good speed for this. I think it looks good for my footage, at least. And then next we talk about the bug gym. So this is another thing I want to show you, is how the bug gym thing works. This is a battle where we talk about each individual Pokemon, and this is showing you again how this works. So, just to confirm, at level 18, I decide to try Metapod, yeah. Kakuna is second, but Kakuna, and then this is Scyther. Scyther is last, yep, and just to confirm, this is me talking about Rival. Rival time, yes, okay. So, what I'm gonna do. Again, I like to use hotkeys a lot to speed this up, so I take right before I got the first action, so about there. And we want to go until I see the experience I gained from taking him out. If I went right to where it said he fainted, it'd be a little fast to register. So what I do is I wait until it's like there, and then I didn't mean to select all that stuff down there, by the way. Period to put that in, and then I'm going to do a new in marker here, right at the beginning of Kakuna. And an out marker. I'm going to do it after I leveled, just to give the visual thing that I leveled. I don't need to include that I was learning Mean Look there, because I didn't actually learn it. I chose not to, because Mean Look sucks. Put it down, and then Scyther's out. And then I go to when I see the gym leader, and the first line finishes reading out. There we go. So, we have 3 different clips there, and we have 3 things to insert it over. If I just hold Alt and I zoom out with my mouse wheel there, you can see we have these big clips that are going for a long time, but we only needed to fill these 3 things. So it's just exactly what I showed you before. Control R, Control C, exit out, Control R, Control V, enter, and then you overlay it on it, and it's literally that simple and that fast. That's how I get these out every single week, is stuff like this. You just learn how to speed up little parts of the process. And so we have just finished an entire gym battle in an edit there, and it probably took me under 1 minute outside of just talking to you. At level 18, I decided to try the bug gym again under the assumption that I'd lose, but that it'd be worth trying. Metapod hit a few string shots and wasted 5 of our Psywaves, but never could hurt us. Kakuna is second, and although we only used 4 Psywaves on him, he did poison us, so we're losing health fast. Scyther is last, and he's trying to build Fury Cutter like usual, so I confused him so that he'd hit himself so that he can't build power, and started using Psywave. I was absolutely shocked when, after some nice confusion luck, I ended up hitting 2 strong psi waves and got the win. That blew my mind, by the way. I legitimately didn't think I was going to win that part. Save often, by the way. It's just Control S like it is in most things. And that's literally all I need to show you for that part. That's, how you do gym battles, how I do gym battles, how I do other things. I want to keep this one short. If it's under 10 minutes, I make less money, but I don't really care. This is about educating you guys on exactly how I do this so that it might be useful to you guys. I hope that you found that useful. If you have any questions, as usual, let me know in the comment section. I want to do Q&A videos, but the next video in this playlist will be showing you the last of editing this video. I'm going to insert the rest of the footage on my own time, of course, and then after that, it's just the next episode you tune in for. We are doing the marker edits. We're doing of which there's almost none, as you can see here. We're doing the first minute, which is what I call kind of this whole part before where it says start, right? So it's first minute and 13 seconds in the case of this video. It's always around the first minute. You don't want it to drag on forever. And then the soundtrack, and then we're ready to render it. Maybe I'll do a video showing you how I do the thumbnail, although everyone's thumbnail really should look differently because otherwise you're not gonna be able to tell people apart very well. And the way I do it is just the way I do it. I don't really recommend copying my thumbnails because some people do, and the problem with that is that one, it often doesn't look as good just because I have more experience with doing it. I'm not amazing at thumbnails, but I can do little things to touch it up. And so if yours looks just like the next guy's, but not quite as good, people aren't going to be as likely to click it. And two, you want some kind of cohesive branding. Notice how J-Rose recently started doing that thing where he's changed his thumbnails to have like a Game Boy box art style thing. That's really cool. That works for him. The very Tess is doing something kind of similar to that, but more of a Game Boy Color thing. That also looks really good, and she does things her own way. A lot of these thumbnails, they come up with their own creative style for it, and then they stick with that template. That's a great idea, because when you do that, then people, once they've seen one or two of your videos, they get the consistent branding, and they know that if they see a thumbnail of that style, it's probably yours. And it just helps you stand out from the rest of the crowd, So I do very much recommend making your own thumbnails on that, but I can show you how I do mine just in case you're curious. Maybe you'll learn something from it. Just like how maybe you don't use Adobe Premiere, but you could still do a lot of these things in other editing softwares. So I've rambled plenty. I need to go get recording with Brandon for his channel, Gooset. I'm sure you guys know him. He's been on my channel forever, but his Monster Hunter challenges have been picking up, which is awesome. And he's doing Pokemon ones, and we're working on a Resident Evil 5 one together that we want to get on his channel, where we try to beat all of Resident Evil 5 in co-op on the hardest difficulty, where you get one shot by most moves, and the only weapon we're allowed to use is the starting default pistol. Can't even use like grenades or anything. It's not just the only gun we can use, it's the melee attacks, and it's the knife because it's just a built-in melee attack. We can't use gun emplacements, we can't use most things, so we're not even entirely sure if it's possible yet. We're about halfway through the game, and we got to a point that it might not be possible, but we're gonna try our hardest. Thank you everybody so much for watching this series. I hope that you guys have found it very interesting, and on the next episode, we're going to be going over the last of how I basically render out and finish these videos. Until next time, have a nice day.